Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to check out Marvel's Avengers. Real quick guys, before we get into the review, I just want to let you guys know we are giving away a free copy of Marvel's Avengers. All you guys got to do to be entered in that is be a subscriber and comment down below what your favorite superhero is. With that out of the way guys, let's just jump right into the review. Got lots to talk about, so I'll try not to spend too long and make this video crazy long. But yeah, finally playing Marvel's Avengers pretty much a whole year later. It's got a few DLCs added, and I basically waited to play this game because when it first came out, I saw that the character models or whatever were not of the actual MCU characters, and so that immediately put me off, and I was like, I'll wait for it. And I'm actually really glad that I did, because I would have been pretty pissed paying $60, $70 for this game, as even today I still don't think that it is worth it. But going over some of the pros and cons, guys, we'll go over some of the things that I really liked about the game first, and then we got a big list of things that I definitely just didn't quite like. Starting off, the main campaign was definitely the highlight of the entire game. You play as all the Avengers, but there's a new character called Kamala Khan, and she's kind of the main focus of the campaign. She goes around kind of reuniting the Avengers, starting with Bruce, then Iron Man, and just getting the team back together. But overall, I really enjoy the main campaign. All the voice acting in the game was pretty top-notch. I thought all the characters did a fantastic job. Minus Thor. Thor, I just feel like Thor's whole character was just not well done. I don't know. He just sounded weird, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, voice acting pretty good. All the characters, for the most part, you get to play as all the Avengers. As you can see, and all the characters felt pretty different for the most part. Their special moves and combats, kind of what really made them feel different. Combat was good enough that kept me invested, kept me wanting to play. And for me personally, I thought these special moves is what really set these characters apart. Like Thor's special moves. Thor and Black Panther were some of my favorite characters to play as in the game. I really like Thor's special moves. He's got all the lightning, and he could use the Bifrost to teleport and come back. So a lot of the special moves are really cool, and I thought pretty well done for the most part. Then there's graphics. I mean, the graphics looked amazing, but I always hesitate to put graphics as like a plus for a game, because I just feel like we're in a day that, like, if your game, like, the first two things that people notice when you're looking at a game, at least for me, is gameplay. How does the gameplay look? And then the graphics. How do the graphics look? And both of that, initially looking at this game, looked fantastic. But yeah, overall the graphics were pretty good. There were a few spots towards the end of the game where we had some glitches and texture things going on. We'll get to more of that in a little bit. But next thing that I really enjoyed was that all the DLCs for this so far, there are 3, and they were all free. You had the Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, and then Black Panther. The Kate Bishop and Hawkeye were they're 2 different DLCs, but they're part of like the same overarching story. Wakanda was totally separate. And that brings me to like the last thing that I really enjoyed about it, is that the Wakanda DLC felt like a step in the right direction. We'll go into some of the things that I didn't like. But I feel like a lot of the main things a lot of the main issues that I had with the game are still present in these DLCs, even the newest one, Wakanda, which just came out a few days ago. But yeah. So overall, I mean, those were the big chunk of things that I really enjoyed about the game. Like I said, the campaign I thought was pretty well done for the most part. Voice acting, all the combat was great. Now moving on to the things that I didn't like, which is a much bigger list, and hopefully I can get through all this without taking too long. First that I put on the thing is that I noticed that some of the characters just feel weak. Like, it's cool playing as Hulk. Hulk and Thor were my favorites in the game, and it sounds like they were the favorite for a lot of people. but they just didn't feel powerful. You didn't feel like a superhero. You didn't feel like Hulk just smashing through things. Like, a lot of the enemies still took like 5 or 6 hits to destroy, and it was just super annoying, and I just didn't feel powerful as the Hulk or playing as Thor. And just some of the characters just didn't seem like they were designed well. Like Iron Man, like the flying for Iron Man was just terrible. I just didn't enjoy it. I had a better time flying around in Anthem than I did with Marvel's Avengers as Iron Man, which is saying a lot because Anthem was freaking terrible. Next little point I put here is the glitches. This game has been out over a year, and the main campaign was pretty flawless for the most part until the very end. That last battle when you're fighting MODOK, I just had so many glitches. Like there's a part where Captain America totally disappeared while I was fighting, and you couldn't see him at all, minus a few times where you're doing like a combo and the shield lights up red. There's a few other things, and then there was a time where I was fighting and then the sound was totally cut out. Like you couldn't hear anything. You could see people talking and whatnot, but there's just no sound. So I just thought that was pretty unacceptable. I mean, maybe at launch, there's always bugs and glitches with a lot of games, which is very unfortunate, and I really wish that game companies would really iron these out beforehand. But this has been out over a year, and they still have these technical issues. So next thing I put is the microtransactions. This game is freaking littered with them. Literally all the best skins in the game, all the skins that people want, like the ones from Infinity War and from Endgame, all cost money. They're like 1,400 credits, and you can't even really earn credits that well in the game. They're just super grindy, not worth it, and so they charge you for everything. It's like $20 here, $20 there for just the characters, and it's just so annoying. And then even like with the new DLCs, getting the Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, and Wakanda, you get those brand new characters. They introduce like these hero cards, which are kind of their way to level up and get gear and cosmetics and stuff like that. But to even unlock those, you have to pay 1,000 credits just to get them. It was just littered with too much microtransactions, just left and right. It just oozes greed, and I freaking hate it. Like, if it was a free-to-play game, I usually let it slide because, it's like, oh, the game's free. They want to make a little extra money. Fine, I'll drop $20 on, a battle pass or a skin, but if they're already charging people $60 for this game, and then on top of that charging for literally every little thing in the game, like, it just really, for me, it really hurts the experience. I'm just like, I don't want to play, I don't want to grind. Next bullet point that I put here is that the boss fights were just a drag. They just were so grindy, so tedious. I do have to say, I thought fighting Abomination, that first boss fight, was pretty fun. But then, it's just all the boss fights were just incredibly grindy. Even Abomination was pretty grindy at the beginning. I was playing solo. I wasn't playing with friends. I was playing this a year late, so I'm sure a lot of my buddies that had gotten this game had already, chucked this out the window. But it just seemed like a lot of these boss fights were just way too grindy. And then there's times where they would instantly kill you, like... who was I fighting? Even like the robot boss fights, they would be like killing it, and all of a sudden he'd do like one move and I'd instantly die, and I'm like, seriously? And that kind of segues into the next thing I was going to talk about, is this just the lack of variety of bosses and the lack of variety of enemies. Like, as far as like notable comic book bosses, there was just Abomination, Taskmaster, and then MODOK at the end. Everything else was just robots. You fight a blue robot, and then you fight a gray robot. And then, like the boss fight, there's even a boss fight that was like, oh, let me just combine Captain America's shield, hammer, and Iron Man all in one. And although it looked cool at first, it's just, there's just no, I just don't want to fight robots over and over again. And even the enemies, like, yes, there was different enemies, but like when you're fighting a big wave of them, you're not really noticing that that robot over there has a yellow stripe and then that one's just solid gray. Like, you just don't notice that when you're fighting, and you don't notice, they're all just coming at you and attacking. So the enemy variety was just pretty bland and got really old pretty fast. Like I said this earlier, another big turnoff for me is, I called it the off-brand Avengers, the Walmart brand Avengers. Like, it just... You look at the game, and it just didn't look like the Avengers. They all look like random... Yeah, like I said, the Walmart version of Avengers. And they do have the character skins for like the MCU in the game, but they're all like $20 a skin. Like if you want to look like Iron Man from Endgame, $20. You want to look like Black Panther from, Civil War, $20. So it is just very, very annoying, and it's just stupid. And a lot of the skins that they have in the game are dumb anyway. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of cool ones, but they're just too grindy to even like care to get, Next bullet point I put is that the team AI, or just the AI in general, was super dumb. Playing solo, you get to kind of pick 3 other teammates, so it's a squad of 4, and there'd be missions where you had to stand on like a platform for so many seconds or whatever to go to the next level, and your companions wouldn't even stand on the platform. They would be running around doing something else, and so it's like they weren't even helping you. And then as far as like the enemy AI goes, they would always go straight for you. Like, they wouldn't attack your buddies, they wouldn't attack your companions, they would just go straight for you the whole time. And it was super annoying because it's like, what is the point of even having a team if they're not even doing anything? Literally the only thing that they helped with is every now and then I'd get downed, or I'd lose all my health or whatever, and they'd have to come and revive me or whatever. But that didn't happen very often as the game wasn't super hard, but that was pretty much the only use for them. Next thing that I wrote is that the level design just really sucked. It really suffered in this game. Kind of reminded me of Godfall, like where you first go to a new area and you're like, oh wow, this is cool, you're exploring, and like the first time you go through that level is fun. But then you realize the next 4 or 5 levels are all exactly the same. So, and that's exactly how it is here. The first level, you go to the forest, the mountains, you got like a snowy place, a desert, all those places are cool when you first get there, but then after doing 2 or 3 missions there, you realize that they're pretty much the same level. Things might be switched around a little bit, but the level design is just terrible. Wakanda, like I said, the issues with the main game here still carry over to the DLCs, because even the Wakanda DLC, the first couple hours was awesome. I didn't know where anything was. Exploring was awesome. But then after, playing a couple hours on the Wakanda DLC, you realize that, oh, it's literally just the same area, just flipped or switched around. Excuse me. So, yeah, just level design was very poor. This game claims to be like a looter brawler, I guess you would call it. It's not really a looter shooter, but the loot sucks, the gear sucks. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no drive to really like grind to get anything because all the loot sucks. And it's just gear. And the gear doesn't even change the way you look. Like, at least when they did Outriders, they changed, like, the gear actually changed physical appearance along with stats. Here, it just changes the stat, and it's just really not compelling because all you're seeing is, a number go up. Now, instead of 25, you have 28. And that's just not really compelling. The gear was just very terrible, and it just made it hard to really want to grind for this loot because at the end of the day, you just didn't care. Hero cards, going on to the next part. The hero cards, where each hero gets what's called a hero card, and you can grind on each of those with daily quest and weekly quest, and you unlock, gear, cosmetics, emotes, nameplates, all stuff that no one really cares about. The only thing that people really would probably want is maybe the credits so that you can unlock another skin, or even just the skins themselves. They were all just way too grindy and not worth it. I think at the end of the game, after playing through all the characters, I got to maybe like 13 or 15 with each character. And there were some cool, cosmetic options further down the road, but you'd have to grind like a month to be able to get just one character all the way done. And it's not worth it. I don't want the time invested in it. I think was just not worth it. The end game content is pretty lackluster. I mean, it looks like there's a lot to do at the end, but there just really isn't. It's just the same missions over and over again, fighting the same bosses over and over again. And that's kind of their live service thing. And it's just, like I said earlier, it just oozes greed and microtransactions. And so this whole live service thing just really doesn't work. They should have just made this a single player story campaign, and I think it would have done better. They focus all that time and resources and just made a better campaign and a longer campaign, and I think this game would have been better, but I don't know. This one isn't necessarily, it's a con for me. It's more of a nitpicky thing. Captain America never says Avengers Assemble, and I was so annoyed because of the end battle with MODOK. there's literally so many times where Captain America's like, Avengers on me, or Avengers come to me, or over there. And there's even like a very cinematic moment where he's like, it shows all the characters and he's in the moment and he like raises his shield, you know, very, very cliche Captain America. And he's like, Avengers on me. And it's just stupid. I don't know. I just really wish that he would have said it. Not that it would have made the game really any better, but I was just annoyed that he didn't. He said everything else but that. Kind of going with the main campaign, like I was saying, Kamala, for the most part, was very cringy, at least to me. She did have some really good moments, like the end with MODOK I thought was great. I really liked the chemistry between her and Banner. I really liked the voice acting between them, but just a lot of the things Kamala said just came off too cheesy, too cringy, and overall I just ended up not really liking the character. Every time I had an opportunity to play as somebody else, Iron Man, Hulk, whoever, you know, I immediately would switch. There are missions that specifically make you play as Kamala, like you don't have a choice. But every time I did have a choice, it was not Kamala. So, and then last but not least, they just did Thor so dirty in this game. Like, first of all, every character got like their own like little story as you're trying to bring them back into the Avengers, except for Thor. No story for Thor. He just kind of gets introduced right as he's saving Captain America and Iron Man or whatever from space. His voice acting I thought was kind of terrible. He just sounds weird. I don't know, just everything about Thor was just very done poorly, except for him as a playable character was really fun to play as Thor, but he just didn't have any story, and I really wanted that. Thor is one of my more favorite characters from the Avengers, and I was pretty disappointed to see that not only did they rush it just to get to Captain America's story, but he just didn't have a story at all. And yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the pros and cons. Overall, you know, I personally would not pay $60 for this, or even $40, $30. I mean, if you see this game at the store for $20 and you're kind of on the fence about it before, I would say go for it. Personally, I wouldn't pay anything over $20. I was very fortunate and was able to get this game incredibly cheap at my local Walmart. They were doing like an inventory, and any game that didn't have like a spot to put it on, because, you know, Walmart, they got like that section where they just kind of throw a bunch of games, and anything that was in there I think was like $5. So that's what made me get it. I was like, you know, I was always on the fence. I always heard bad things, but honestly it was the Wakanda DLC. I knew that was coming up, and I was like, dude, I love Black Panther. So yeah, guys, and that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Real quick, like I said, we are doing a giveaway for the Deluxe Edition, brand new for PS4. Hasn't been opened for Avengers, Marvel's Avengers. If you guys are like on the fence like you were, like I was, this is definitely, you know, something you could do. It's free. All you got to do is be a subscriber and comment down below what your favorite superhero is. And that's going to end it for today's video, guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.